morning, guys, and happy Sabbath. This morning, we're all just gonna kind of show you guys some pictures of our trip and talk about different aspects of it. And it was a big blessing, and we kind of want you guys to experience through picture and through what we're gonna talk about, kind of the experience we were able to have while we were here. So this is when we first got here. We're in Nepal, and we're filling out our immigration forms. And by this point, we're all really exhausted. We had just gotten off our 14-hour flight after our 14-hour layover. And so we've been traveling for a while, and we're all kind of grunge and, yeah, some grumpy people. But for the most part, we're all pretty happy. We weren't sure really what to expect when we got there. It was really busy. There's not very many flights going in or out of Kathmandu. That's why we had the 14-hour layover. And so any planes that do come in, the airport is really busy when they arrive. So this is just all of us getting our luggage. I don't even know where we are in this picture. We're not there.
We're right behind me taking the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Notice how ghetto this airport is too. Like, you don't see airports like that here in the States or most other places in the world. It was what I guess when we all landed there, we saw it. At least it kind of took my breath away how run down.
Especially after being at Abu Dhabi, like everything there is like really clean, very sophisticated. They're a very rich culture, and then going from there to here, we were all kind of like culture shock, like.
Yeah, especially like the trash. Like there was no trash in Abu Dhabi. Like I would lick the street because it was so clean. But like here, there's trash absolutely everywhere. They don't have like trash receptacles. Like they just toss it over on the ground and then the dogs eat it, or they just leave it. It's disgusting. And also some of the vehicles, like in Abu Dhabi, you didn't see any like gross cars. There was like nice everything. Like the oldest car was like 2011, maybe. But like here, like nobody has nice vehicles. We saw one like 2000-something vehicle, and Mark was like, "Hey, look, a new car."
I think someone told us also that in Abu Dhabi, if you don't wash your car, they will confiscate it and ticket you. So you have to wash your car. Your car cannot be dirty, and that is a desert. And so there's dirt always. So you have to wash your car at least every other day.
This was when we were driving in, because we stayed at Shir Memorial Hospital, which was an Adventist hospital in Kathmandu. And this is on our way there. Bonnapay, my bad. Yeah, outside of Kathmandu. Anyway, and so this is just pictures of the city as we're driving through. And there's a lot of trash, a lot of buildings. When we got there originally, we didn't see as much destruction as we thought we were gonna. There was still a lot of buildings falling over and stuff like that, but once we got out into the littler villages, you see a lot more of what the earthquake did.
And actually, like, our accommodations when we got to the hospital were a lot better than we had thought. Like, we were expecting to be, like, sleeping, like, either outside or in tents or something, but, like, we had one shower, one bathroom. Like, it was kind of, like, not... Yeah, we had electricity, too.
It wasn't a shower, it was a hose.
Yeah, it was a hose. It was a hose in a shower, but we had, like, warm water.
Yeah, the shower head broke on us.
I unscrewed the shower head because it was better that way.
And, like, you think of a shower as being clean. Not this one.
Oh, that curtain, though.
Mark didn't bring his.
This is the guys' room. Oh, wait. Never mind. Yeah, and Mr. Haley crashed as soon as we got there. Well, we all kind of did.
And yeah, we actually had beds, which was surprising because we kind of didn't plan on that. But that was nice. That was convenient. Yeah,
when we first got there, things were a little bit different than we expected. There was a little bit of miscommunication as to where we were supposed to be. So in actuality, the place where they originally wanted us was 7 hours away. And so we got there, and they were expecting us, but they didn't really know who we were, what we were doing. I think the guy even thought for a minute that we were a non-denominational school. And so we had to get there and explain everything, kind of start from ground zero. And so we were all really confused and tired, so we just went to bed. But then the next day we were able to figure out, and we worked with this group called Reach Nepal to go out and work with some of the villages. We went to church. Well, we went to church on Sabbath. You can say that, you have a microphone.
Are there more pictures? Go to the next ones.
Yeah.
There's more stuff.
Go ahead.
You can talk. It was interesting, though. She mentioned Reach Nepal. We arrived there, and she said we were in the wrong spot. We were in a different hospital. The hospital we were supposed to be at was 7 hours away. They didn't know what they were going to do with us. And it's interesting because we wake up and we take a hike and we go to church. And we're like, what are we going to do? And a church member invites us over to have lunch because obviously the cafeteria wasn't going to serve lunch. And so we go to this church member's house. and a guy from Reach Nepal who was also there. And he was coordinating being able to reach out and help Nepal in many different ways, ministry, clearing, helping out people in any way they can. And we were able to meet up with him and organize and work with him for the rest of the week. So we actually, it was like, in my mind, it was a divine intervention for us to be able to meet up and work with him.
Yeah, and needless to say, that first meal on Sabbath afternoon was like the first square meal we had in like 50 hours.
Yes.
So it was a
good.
beautiful meal.
Airplane curry.
This is actually
It
the
was
town.
actually good.
This is the town of Banape that we were in, and like you can kind of see what the culture is from the shot. Like you see all the wheat fields that they grow just kind of in their random space that they have in the city. Then you see all the buildings that are run down, and like the smog that you see covering the mountains. Like somewhere in the area of where we were, like if it had been clear, we could have seen like Mount Everest and those, what mountain range is that? The Himalayas. Yeah. Like we could have seen it, but it was just totally blocked by all the smog. So there's a lot, you can tell a lot about what it was like there from this picture. This is where we stayed.
Yes.
The doctor's lounge.
They had a lot of flowers there, which I'm not used to really in third world countries, but and we were driving in and they had flower shops along the way. So these people, they plant a lot of flowers, and it wasn't even just at the hospital too. You saw these people and they'd have little pots of flowers here and there. So that was something that was kind of cool.
So this was the canteen, and we kind of were confused. It was like cantina, canteen, what? So yeah, it was the canteen.
Mr.
And that's
Haley
what
called it a cantainer.
Oh yeah, a container. Yeah, that too. So this is where we ate all our meals, which was basically 2 meals a day. And for breakfast, we would have curry and samosas and eggs. Yeah, and then for supper, we usually had a bigger meal of rice and stuff. But we got tired of curry really quickly.
Yes, same thing for breakfast every morning. But they had this really good ginger tea. That was nice.
Okay.
Oh boy. This button works.
This again is a hospital.
This tent is where, during the earthquake, when all the people were coming in, they were all scared to be inside. They still are. Most people are staying in tents because of the aftershocks and how easily all the buildings crumble. And so this is where they had a lot of the patients in the original thing. They had them all set up outside. There used to be quite a few tents. And so that was one of the tents they
Yeah, and later they set up more tents. After the second huge aftershock, they set up a lot more tents, and we had to move
everyone
patients
wanted
out
to
there.
be out of the hospital because they were scared.
By the way, just as a photographer's note, none of these are edited, so don't judge. This is a hospital guide.
The hospital guy. Yes, the administrator of the hospital. Well, not that. Yeah, that's the view from the canteen where we ate. They're just chilling.
Where we stayed again.
The palm tree.
And I have lost faith in this remote. Is there any way we can bring my computer over that mess things up?
Anyways, on Sabbath, we took a walk before church. Yeah. I don't know if this was on Sabbath.
That was on Sabbath.
This was on Sabbath, right? Yeah. And we took a walk up the hill to the mountains
Through the
and
city streets up to the
what you can consider city. And we went through this little walkway area. I don't know if you have any pictures. That was Sabbath. And
Those are their cars, by the way.
Yes.
That's a cool picture that we took.
yeah.
This is the DSLR selfie.
Yes, we have lots of those throughout the course of our trip.
So that was before jet lag really hit us. We were sort of happy.
We had. Yeah, that morning we woke up at everyone in the guys' room woke up at 3:30. No, the first time was 3:30, and
And
we're
they
all
all started
awake
talking.
together and just talked because jet lag did that to us. So we had a lot of energy in the morning, but we quickly crashed around 3 o'clock that day.
All us girls were like, "Excuse me, we're tired."
That's a door with an elephant face on it.
Yeah, that's their elephant god.
Explain that. I don't know.
Okay, so if you want to know the story behind this, we asked some of the natives because we were really curious. This thing's kind of weird looking. And supposedly this guy killed his son, and his wife was very mad and wanted him to raise his son back to life. And so he gave him, she put an elephant head on him.
That's cool.
Short story.
And now they worship
Yes.
him.
Yes, and now they worship him. So very interesting. But
Because he
yeah.
raised his son to life with an elephant head.
There's some of the wheat fields, like they're carrying it and everything. And there's one of the broken down buildings as we were walking through the streets Sabbath morning before church.
If you can see.
That's a dude rebuilding his home.
Talk
This
about
is
the
like
picture.
Mark's favorite.
Yeah, this is one of my first favorite pictures that I had. Like, you can just see all the rubble, and then he's actually building up his wall back. When he came back the next day, like that, all that open space was filled. But just seeing this guy in the middle of all that rubble is just it's kind of a moving picture.
Tells the story.
Yeah, it really tells a story of what happened there. This was on their temple.
And I bought a souvenir of one of those. I hope it doesn't do things in that room.
They do, and they have so many gods, though. Like, someone was even telling us that they see foreigners, and at least to some extent, as gods. Like, they worship a lot of things.
You know, and going to their temple here Sabbath morning, it was really interesting just to see them. They walk around this building and they like say all these prayers and light all these candles and then ring this bell how many times they have a prayer or something like that.
Incense.
And they light incense and do all these things. And you know, it was kind of a unique experience for me to see like that religion, you know, and it's really intense. And when we were up on the mountain on our way down, we were like singing hymns and stuff like that because, you know, it's Sabbath morning and we all like to sing. So we were singing a bunch of different hymns just as we were walking through the villages. And we were all thinking, you know, how ironic it is. We sang the song Redeemed, you know, and how ironic it is that we have this salvation, you know, and we're saved and we have faith in Christ, but they don't have that. Like, they work every morning. They get up at like 4:30 to go to this temple and go through all their rituals, you know? And it's just intense how much bondage to sin they have in the guise of it being freedom from their sin. And that was just a really unique experience just to see the contrast between what we have as such a blessing and what they have, you know? And so that was really cool.
That's a really powerful point that you get from the whole thing. Like, you see all their religion and how much it's so works oriented. They have colorful houses.
Yeah, they're really cool.
So you see all those lines? That's all their agriculture. Basically, you don't see a mountain without those steeps, I believe you call them, or
Except
steps.
for one, and Mario took a picture of it on the way back.
Yeah, and I found a mountain when we were leaving, and it was the only mountain I saw without these things. I was so happy. I was like, whoa, there's something that's free of it. But yeah, like basically, that's a really high mountain. I'm gonna let you know that now. It's really high, and they just every day they go down all the way. Sorry, I like talking with my hand. Anyways, so they go down all the way, and they get all those things, and then they carry it back up. And I believe Mark has a picture of a lady that has like this head cap thing, and then it's like a basket behind her back, and like everything's like 5 feet taller than her.
They all have great cardio. Like, we were there just for a couple days, and we're like, oh my goodness, climbing up and down all this time. Yes, more DSLR selfies.
That was on the top of the mountain.
This is where we hiked up Sabbath morning.
The cow.
Sacred cow.
Yes,
They worship cows.
they really do. We don't just tease Armand about that. That's actually a thing.
They have cows in the street, and someone told us that if there was a cow in the street and a human in the street and you had to hit one, you would be better off hitting the human.
Yeah,
So-
they'd give you less grief for it.
And you know, it's actually kind of interesting because in the airport on the way back in Kathmandu, I was talking to a couple of people that they went there specifically to help the animals that got hurt from the earthquake. And they went there thinking that they were going to take care of all the street dogs. Well, when they got there, they actually ended up taking care of all the cows because all the cows were inside in different barns and different things. And so when the earthquake happened, it crumbled on them, which I think is just kind of ironic. But poor cows.
More colorful houses.
Yes.
So if you could, wait, hold on, go back. Can you go back? You see this? This is rock and mud and a tiny bit of mortar, I believe. So that's what's making, like, their homes are so bad, like, they're so fragile that it's so easy for them to fall, which is why there was so much destruction in Nepal.
And why so many people got hurt but one of the Pathfinders we were working with, they were all like, you know, we're praising God that this happened during Saturday because in Nepal, everyone goes to church on Saturday.
Even the
That's their
Hindus.
holy day. Yeah, Hindus, every religion, they work on Sunday, they go to church on Saturday. So they were all like, it was a great thing because not many people were in their houses. Most people were out and about. And the hospital said that most of the injuries they had coming in were people who got hit in the head from falling debris from the street. So that was something they were really thankful for. They were like, if that happened at night or on another day, a lot more people would have died. So
yeah, and a lot of like the more mountainous houses and villages, those were the ones made out of like bricks and mud and lick and stick kind of deal. Like in the city, it was like a little bit sturdier, and like some of the buildings were still standing and stuff. But most of the destruction was like out in like remoter villages that had been like made out of rocks and stuff.
And you'll see some pictures of that in a second.
It's interesting though that when you look at these buildings here, if you'll go back, Peyton, you'll see mud and brick houses with a really nice exterior to the front. And this is not a mud and brick house, but it is interesting though. In the front, it all looks great. The sides and the back, it's not. A little bit of a spiritual lesson
all
there.
the houses. Yeah.
This was their Sabbath school in the morning, and it was kind of cool because like a lot of their songs had been translated into Nepali, and so like we could like sing along in American. English.
Yeah, they
Yes.
sing the same hymns, so we were like, oh, that's cool.
We sing in American.
That's their choir.
I have to say, I am super impressed at how many young people they have in this church. Like, usually you go to a church and there's not very many young people and they're not very active. There was so many young people in this church. It was incredible.
There was like 45 Pathfinders or something, and like they were super active. In America, sometimes Pathfinders, oh, I got my origami honor. I mean, like, right? But like over there, like they actually went out, like they talked to all the church members, made sure they were okay, clearing houses. I mean, these were active Pathfinders, and it's just like goes for an example for us nowadays. Like, what are we as Pathfinders, as youth, doing here? I mean, we're just kind of sitting sometimes. So.
This is on, yeah, let her talk.
That was on Sabbath. Actually, when everyone crashed, I couldn't. I was not tired, but I started watching these two little girls play jacks with rocks. And by the way, I'm going to bring jacks next time because I think a lot of kids know what jacks are, and I used to play jacks when I was a kid. So there's a rock right there, actually next to my leg, next to that girl in the green. So that's one of her rocks. And so the kid that's right there, Razin, he's in a blue shirt, he's smiling, he has glasses on. He was really talkative, and actually he opened the door for me to kind of get to know some of the people there, because I was by myself. And I just kind of sat there and watched the kids do what they were playing with. And he came up to me and he said, hey, why don't you play? I said, no, I'll just watch. And he says, no, I want you to play. I want you to play with me. He was just like that, like, do it. So I started to play jacks, and they were like clapping when I got it right, and they were like, oh, when I didn't catch the rocks in my hand and stuff. And it was really cool because after a while, actually initially it was just one girl and myself, and Razin came up, and after he came up, 20 people came up, and we were playing that game, and so we were kind of getting bored of it, and I said, oh, you know what? I brought an Uno game. So I ran over to the room, and I brought the Uno cards, and they had not ever seen that. So I taught them how to play Uno, and fortunately, Mr. Haley was also there at that time, because I grabbed him. He was walking around. But anyway, he and I played Uno with those kids for like an hour and a half, and they learned a new game. And it was just really, really fun to do that on Sabbath afternoon, just as kind of an outreach kind of thing. So that's that
Yeah, and by the
picture.
way, this is in the hospital compound where a lot of people would just like, their family members are in the hospital, they're taking care of them, and so they would just stay around the compound and stuff. So that's where this was. And so it was a really great ministry, for people that had been hurting, who had like sick family members, to just kind of get a breather from that.
It's the courtyard. It's really neat.
That's their elephant god that was on the corner of the street. Those are the telephone poles.
Their
which this was
electrical work
not
is
very much.
unique.
Yeah, there was a lot more in some of them. But yeah, just throw a shirt up there, maybe a bike tire, kind of complete the look. That was their trash, and where they burned some people, like when they were dead, like dead people.
Buried them.
Yeah.
Cremated.
Yes, that was on the hike. Very tactfully
This is
said.
just a pretty picture.
Paid and feeling artistic.
Hey, I got it again.
And while they were up there playing games, everyone else was sleeping. Me,
Forced
Sierra,
to. Mario and I slept for like 3 hours while they
Yeah.
hiked. I didn't even know they went on this hike. I
Anyway.
woke up when the sun was down.
Me, Sierra, and Mark went with this guy here. His name is Johan. He was there before the earthquake. He came to do mission work and during the earthquake, and then he decided to stay a little longer and help out after the earthquake. And he knows the natives pretty well, so we and two of the native Nepali people there, we went hiking. And we were thinking, oh yeah, we'll go on a hike. We like hiked this degree angle for like an hour.
Yeah, we ran
and
up.
we were running. You know, I mean, I'm not that out of shape, but I'm telling you, I was dying by the top of that. I was like, mercy. But we did it, and it was beautiful at the top. Like, you could see the mountains all around, and there was a little lookout tower. And they told us it was like a picnic area up there. So people walk up there, you know, just have a picnic. They don't think it's that intense. But
That's the hospital.
yeah, that's the hospital from the top of the
And that's a
mountain.
pretty picture. Oh, that was the 7-foot tall doctor with some of the Nepali boys.
Yes.
By the way, he was sitting next to me during church, and I felt super small.
We stood up, and Mario whispers to me, because I was sitting next to me, he's like, I feel really short. And I was like, you look kind of short.
These in Nepal are called finger chips, not French fries.
Yes.
Finger chips. And they didn't have enough ketchup.
And their ketchup was.
The ketchup was really sweet.
It was sweet and sour sauce, basically.
And this guy sitting up there, he's James Wilson, who's Reach Nepal guy.
And the one next to him is a doctor who just graduated from medical school. Actually, we don't have that picture anymore. Never mind. There we
you
go.
go.
Sandeep. And he was going to Bangladesh to go do residency. But he helped me out on the clinic.
You guys can come up for supper by now.
Go ahead. And these are some prayer flags. Like, they have their prayers written on them, and then they have them like strung up like in the trees and near the temple and stuff. And this was our hike down to one of the rubbled houses of one of the Adventist couples. So we went and cleaned that up on Sunday.
Yeah, we weren't quite sure what we were going to do, but we ended up collaborating with some of the Pathfinders, and they said that most of the time, when the buildings all crumbled, all these people had their money and their food inside their houses, and so when they crumbled, they weren't able to get to that. And so they were worried because, you know, that was their life. You know, and so we were going and we helped out this one guy dig out his home and saved his potatoes and
Yeah,
because
corn.
they keep their food inside so it doesn't get stolen and stuff. So all of his food was inside that cellar, which collapsed in the earthquake. So there were a whole bunch of little potatoes and corn in there, and we saved it, a lot of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately their grandma died in that house when the...
Yeah, in the same pile we were digging in, someone had, they collapsed.
By the way, we passed a photo of a lady's feet. They don't wear shoes there normally, and she lost all of her toenails. She has close to no toes whatsoever.
Yeah, they're little stubby things.
Yeah, it's just little stubs. And basically this center area is where their food was, like right there. And the grandma had fallen with the bed, like here-ish. Oh, we were standing on the bed. There's the bed, yeah. It was underneath where the food was, and this is the bed that she died in.
It was buried under like 3 feet of rubble.
Yeah. And most of it was not even heavy rock. It was just like dirt clots. So, which explains why it kind of crumbled like it did.
That's just a view of the whole house.
One interesting thing I found was that we were walking down there, and as we were walking, we see an old grandpa in the front yard and some other people, and they're picking up kernels of corn, kernel by kernel. They didn't start, obviously we see the locals here helping us. It wasn't until we arrived and started moving some earth and finding some of these potatoes and corn that they actually started moving it over themselves. They're starving, and yet they didn't know where to go find it, or at least they didn't have the initiative to. I find that rather puzzling.
You can imagine a huge pile of rubble like that and one person trying to clean it up. Because the rest of the people that were there were just all old ladies. There was one picture of an old lady there. But you know, when you have a group of 11 or 12 of us descend on a pile of rubble like that, I think it gave, she's one of them. That gave them the initiative to, let's go ahead and do this, because we can get this done. We can get our potatoes, we can get our corn, we can get all cleaned up, and then we can move on.
Yeah, it's really like intimidating. Like, your whole house collapsed. Like, where do you start? And that was the doorway that Mario was standing in.
Yeah, and then Nepali, they walk in and out, and they have plenty of clearance. It's like this high above their heads, and Mario's like,
So
nope.
when I originally walked in there, I hit the back of my head on the door frame. And so we were going up because they wanted to get a bed out. And they had 3 floors, but the floors were only like 5 feet high. So literally I was bent over like this the whole time.
In there too.
And it was really dark. That's them. That's how, like
Mario, what are you standing on?
I am not standing on anything.
Even
I
I'm
was taller than
them.
most of them.
Yeah.
We're both taller than them.
Awesome.
Punching Sierra in the face. Anyways,
City street.
yeah, that's the city street. So if you see it, there's like a water bottle on the ground. This is like this is like a tiny glimpse of like not even all the trash that's there. There's so much trash on the ground.
That's a clean street.
Lucas, that's for you.
It's an Apple dress thing.
On the road when we were going to the airport or to the hospital, on the way to Kathmandu and back and forth, whatever, the lanes were like shifted from the earthquake.
Yeah, it dropped.
There's no picture, but I'm telling you.
Like,
Like
a
the
lot.
road was like 3 feet difference.
And then you had to like go really slow on this one part because it like cracked open and messed up.
This is just an interesting little thing. Like, notice that the baby is wearing heavy eyeliner. Like, we were all wondering, like, what on earth is this for? Apparently, it helps their eyes. So, like, when they're older, they don't have to get glasses as much when they wear this. I think it helps something with, like, the reflection of the sun or something like that.
I think that's a misnomer.
She thinks that's a misnomer. A story backs that up because one of the girls, Sada, that was there, said she had it when she was younger and she had glasses.
So after a day of moving rubble, Derek felt
I
strong.
did win. I did win.
He felt strong after carrying a little bit of rubble.
Yeah.
One of the few pictures of me, so they made me put it up.
Beautiful face. I love that picture. It's nice.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
cool.
view from the canteen.
No, that's
No,
actually a view
from
from
The back porch.
yeah,
Back
like
behind
the
where we
entrance
were
of the
staying.
church. And I was playing with new toys. Camera. That's why that shot.
This is samosa
Our daily breakfast.
Yes, breakfast.
and ginger tea.
And Mr. Haley can't deal with any spice, so he suffered greatly on this trip. He was very thankful when we had finger chips because they weren't spicy.
Curry.
Yes, so much garbanzos.
So much.
Her name was Nisjal, and I wanted to like pack her up and take her with us because she was so cute. It was like a Martina that was from Nepal. It was
Yep.
super cute.
They look similar.
Yeah, you guys have the same chin.
And that was Srijan, and he was one of our translators as well. From like he was a Pathfinder.
We call him Monkey.
He thought he was tall, but he was shorter than I was.
And he called me Auntie Lou.
This was part of our bus ride. It was just this really bad road up the side of a mountain where some places there was like a foot between the tire and the road.
Hardly. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Between the tire and the road?
tire and
You mean the tire and the cliff?
That
Yeah,
one.
like this much room, and then you like drop. Yeah.
I still have jet
They
lag.
did
I
this.
didn't sleep
They
last
did
night.
this thing where Mario would like switch. Okay,
whatever.
go for it. Go.
So Mario and I were sitting in the back of the bus on opposite sides, and it was a switchback road, so it would turn back and forth up the mountain. So every time we made a turn, him and I would switch places to make sure he was on the inside against the wall. So it helped weigh it down that way. Because one time we were on 3 wheels, it was scary.
Because part of the road was washed away. So. Okay.
But anyways, still on that bus ride, it was pretty scary because eventually we had a whole bunch of kids like running after the bus, and so Derek decided to come up with the bright idea of throwing granola bars.
I felt so bad.
And then they would chase us some more for more granola bars.
Yeah, I think it kind of made their day a little bit, but it was sad because one of them didn't get one, and I felt bad.
This is the village we went to when we got to the end of our crazy bus ride, and the whole village pretty much was level. There was maybe 1 or 2 buildings that weren't, and one of the buildings that wasn't was where we set up a medical clinic. We had Mrs. Manestar and another doctor.
And when we got there, all the little kids in the village, like all of them, came out from the rubble and chased the bus up the road. So that was cute.
That's our medical stuff being
And
carried.
yeah, those are like little table things. And anyways, so they did medical, and while they were doing medical, a group of us went and played with the kids. So it was Brian, Martina, Derek, and I. And we all played this game called Goats, Random Goats.
That is a nice picture.
Just
It's
look
like a
at it.
family of goats. Yeah, continue.
So those are like the older kids, but a lot of them were a lot younger. And we played this game called Fire on the Mountain. And it's a local game that everybody knows in English in Nepal. We're going to teach it to you guys
Someday.
someday.
Sometime.
And then Heritage is going to start using it for their icebreakers. Following you.
And
That is Mario's vision.
This was the medical clinic, and this is through one of the windows. And there's like my mom and Dr. Sandeep and Brian and another nurse. And so this is where we were like, this was the pharmacy area where Laura and I also worked, and we were handing out medications and stuff to whoever needed it.
And the nurse right there, she's only 17.
Yeah, so like
we
they
were,
start off young.
Ambitious children.
This was really cool because God allowed us to have the opportunity to be in a building for this clinic. And you'll see why later. I say that because this whole thing is God orchestrated.
Yeah. These are some of the kids that were playing. This is Sandeep talking about an inhaler to an old man.
This is how bad the destruction was on this time.
I don't see any mortar there, so
Yeah, it's just rocks
it's
and
pretty
mud.
much dirt.
This was also right next to the epicenter of the earthquake, which is another reason. And it was on top of a mountain, so everything was accentuated.
So they're sleeping in that thing right there. They just kind of collect whatever they can to give themselves a shelter, and then they just put branches and logs and stuff like that to keep it in place. You can imagine what it feels like when it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game.
Yeah, this is Fire on the Mountain.
No one's going to say run, run, run.
So this was cat and mouse. I think Derek was a mouse.
We lived on granola bars.
Yeah.
Yes, so much granola bars. Cliff bars, yes.
This is Haley's new kid.
Yes, that's his little friend, and they matched. And this kid followed him around the whole day, playing Fruit Ninja.
And it started to hail and rain afterwards, so we were very lucky for our shelter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, go back. That dude was the bus driver, and you think Mr. Hayes is a good bus driver? This dude's an Olympic gold medalist. Okay?
Yeah.
Bus diving, Olympic
Legit.
medalist.
Yeah. Mr. Haley was sitting in the front. He was like, "You guys think I'm a good bus driver? Ha, you're funny."
This was our second day where we were working in another village that was not on top of a mountain.
This is earthquake day.
Yeah, this is the day we had the giant 7.43 earthquake.
Okay, wait. Okay, so minutes before the earthquake, that's more crumbling that happened afterwards. A little bit of it had collapsed, but that's afterwards. Minutes before, Peyton had done a video of interviewing me in one of those doorways, like right over there. And so, yeah, that was kind of cool that I was in that building and then it crumbled.
This was after the second shock. All the people inside, they started freaking out. They wanted to go outside. So this is the tents they started setting up again to move everybody outside, and we were helping them with that.
On that day, just in the previous picture, remember I said that it was great to be able to have an opportunity to be inside a building on the day that it hailed and rained, because it was like monsoon hail and rain. It was a lot of rain. It was pouring down the mountainside. So had we been outside, we would have gotten completely soaking wet, and we wouldn't have seen a lot of patients. But this way, we kind of shoved the people inside, and then we saw as many people as wanted to come. The next day, we were at a different village, and we were outside. So God provided us with a different place to go. He knew what was going to happen. And so we were under this humongous tree. I don't know if it was a sycamore, but it was an enormous tree. Mark has a bunch of pictures of the trees. I know I do. But this is an enormous tree with a stump that is wider than this stage. And just the limbs were huge. So it provided us shelter and shade the whole time. And so as soon as the earthquake hit, we all just kind of stood up. And my first thought was, we're okay. We're outside. We're not even close to a building.
I was.
Yes, that was a really big blessing, because otherwise that could have been dangerous.
This was kind of crazy. This was at like 5:30 in the morning. I woke up to go take pictures, of course. And this little kid he was sleeping in the bus because he didn't have to worry that it would fall on him. It's just kind of an emotional picture that it's this little kid sleeping in the bus and just the town going by. This is also what they slept in.
So I talked to someone about the tents and stuff like that. So they brought like 60,000 tents, but they need 250,000 tents to help people get coverage, get shelter. So they don't have enough tents, basically.
their
It's
months-
actually
Go
just,
I think it was
it's
just
just tarps.
Yeah.
It's not tents, it's tarps.
Yeah, and their monsoon season is coming up, so I mean that's a lot of water, so they need shelter and stuff. And this was also in their temple, like where one of the things had fallen.
Yes, the pinnacle in the middle fell over.
That's a cool picture.
I think they worship pigeons too, because like a guy was in the temple feeding them with rice.
They're gonna get bloated and explode. That's not good.
And on our last day, we decided to teach some of our CERT training to some of the Pathfinders. And some of it wasn't like applicable because of course it's a different country, but it was I think it was a blessing for them, and it was like a way that we could connect with like some more people.
Yes.
Oh, and one more thing about like the Pathfinders. On one of our bus rides down, we started singing, and like the Pathfinders started singing "As the Deer," and they were singing it in Nepali, and so they would get to the Hallelujah part, and so we echoed in English. And like that was such a cool experience. It was kind of like one of those aha moments for me, like, wow, in heaven we're all gonna know the same songs. We're all gonna be singing from like all generations and like all people. We're all gonna know the same songs, and like we're all praising the same Maker, like even all around the world. Like that's such a cool thought.
Our group just before we left.
It's okay.
The last DSLR selfie of all our new friends and all our group.
The Pathfinders were very sad to see us go.
Yeah.
It was like, even in the short time we were with them, like they became like family to us, and the same with them. And something that really struck me on this trip was just talking to them. A lot of them, their houses too, like had, destruction and stuff like that. They were all scared to sleep inside and all that. But even though they were hurting, they were still so enthusiastic to go out and help everyone else that was hurting more than they were. And that really hit me because a lot of the time, here in the States in our comfortable little homes and everything, when we have problems, even though everyone else has problems too, we tend to focus on all our issues and all the things that are wrong in our lives instead of looking out and trying to help other people. And they really showed me the character of Christ because he was like that. He had a lot of things he could have complained about while he was here. He was persecuted. He had a lot of issues. He had no house to call his own, but he still went out and served everyone else. And that's kind of what these Pathfinders were doing. And that was just a really big, something that really hit me that I really appreciated about them.
Yeah, he took like a bajillion selfies right before.
Yes, photobomb. Looks like I'm eating the camera.
By the way, on our way in Kathmandu in the airport, when we first got there, we saw it as like the trashiest of all airports, right? But when we came and we were there, we were just like, wow, this place actually looks clean. Like we were like, our views changed so much about Nepal, and like legit, we think that like that's trash. That really isn't. Like we know what trash is, and that's
That's nice.
actually pretty nice.
I think some of it has to do with the fact that we didn't know the people when we got there, and our hearts were not as open to them. And then when we spent time with them and we did stuff with them and we served with them, alongside with them, we left our hearts there.
Yeah.
The Nepali people were actually friendlier than the white people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the white people
are
when we
great.
got there, they were all like, what are you doing here? And all the Nepalis were
All
like,
the doctors,
hi!
yeah.
They were all happy.
All the doctors.
Is that all the pictures? Okay.
It's all the pictures.
I mean,
Okay.
So they have this reading there. And like every time you go up to someone, like or just pass them on the street, we did this like a million times. You just go, namaste.
Yep.
And so like the first old lady that we met, like the first person that told us namaste, she started going to the namaste, and she started like dancing, like namaste. It was kind of weird, but we liked it. It was cool.
Yeah. Something else they always do is when you're talking to them, if they like, how sometimes like when you're talking to people and you'll just like nod your head like, I get what you're saying. They do this all like.
It means okay.
Yeah, so like,
they're just like
you're talking to them and they're
just like the
So-
old people and the little people and everybody does it. Yeah, like that. Jerry, see Jerry.
So if you see us doing that, don't be
yeah,
surprised.
I actually started doing that a lot. Just
Yeah, Sierra and Mario were like, you'd be talking to them, all of a sudden they'd be like, I'd be like, what are you doing? But it was funny.
So yeah, the whole trip was a really great blessing for all of
Yeah.
us.
It's awesome when we travel around. I don't care where you go in this world, okay? Everywhere you go, we have brothers and sisters.
Amen.
And the more you travel, the more you'll find out that that's true. We're a worldwide church, and we have brothers and sisters everywhere. And our goal here in America or abroad or wherever is to be a blessing to God's family and to the world, right? And so it's awesome as you guys got to experience as you went there, and it's like they know the same songs in a different tongue, you know? And that's the way it is, because we're the family of God, and someday we'll be reunited. Yes, Brian.
I like that you mentioned that, because before they learned your name, the Pathfinders, the different locals of the Adventist group, if they don't know your name, they come up and call you brother or sister.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call you before they know your name.
And we are brothers and sisters in Christ. We're one giant family, and God is our Father.
Amen.
So if you don't think you have a family, if you ever thought that, or if you meet somebody that doesn't think they have a family, say no, you've got a family. You belong to this awesome family, the family of God. And so I guess we'll go ahead and close with prayer. You want to go ahead and prayer, Mark? Close with?
Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, Lord, thank you that you give us an opportunity to reach those around us. Thank you that you have given us the chance to go to Nepal, to go and serve you, Lord, and serve the people that you have created. And Father, I just pray that having shared these stories today, Lord, that you will use them in a way to help us all see a global reality, a global picture of what you want to do in and through us. So Father, we just ask that you will awaken our hearts, make us alive, and give us a passion for your service. We place our lives in your hands, and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.